Welcome back to Every Fashion and Style. So in today's class we're going to be learning how to make this beautiful Zara cap that we see here. Okay, it's a Zara cap with bow, and the tutorial on how to make the bow is already on the channel as well. It's a fancy crinoline bow and it's very simple to make. So this is what our Zara cap looks like, and you can see that it is neat inside and out. It's a very simple tutorial and it's beginner friendly. This is something you like to learn. Kindly stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. So to make this Zara cap, I'm working with this rib fabric. It has accordion plates on it, as we can see. That is what I'm going to be using. So the measurement you're going to need is a width of, you can measure around the head of your client, but generally you can just work with a width of around 24 to 25 inches. But for me, I just added extra to it because I'm going to be using elastics to gather this. So this is very effective in cases where you're not sure of the measurement of your client. But averagely 25 inches is okay. And then the length is going to be 16 to 18 inches. So I'm working with 16 inches by 25 inches. My fabric is small. That's why I have this shortage here, although I'm still going to ship it, so it will work. But your measurement should not have this. You should have 25 inches by 16 inches. That's what you're going to need. Okay, so to stiffen the fabric for the Zara cap, you're going to need, you can use a hard cardboard, you can use a Mako that shoemakers normally work with, but I don't have access to all of that now, so I'm going to be using my crinoline. Okay, so this crinoline measures about 3 inches in width. That's what I'm going to be using. So if you don't want yours to be that high, you can go for a crinoline of 2.5 inches or 2 inches thereabouts, but averagely this 3 inches crinoline is going to serve me for what I want to do. So my crinoline, I'm going to measure out around 20 inches. Okay, so it's not going to go around, it's just going to stop about almost at the end. So I'm going to, you can measure 18 inches as well. I'm going to measure 20 inches. Then after measuring the 20 inches, in order for it to be, you want it to be really strong and stiff. In order for it to be hard, I'm going to fold them on each other. Like, depending on how strong your crinoline is, you can make like 4 to 6 folds. Okay, this crinoline is not so strong, so I think I'm going to be making 6 folds. So I just need to measure 20 inches. Then after measuring the 20 inches, to keep folding like this, make sure they align. Then after folding them into like 6 places or 4, you take it to your sewing machine and then you sew by one side. So in order to further stiffen this crinoline, after sewing it on one side, I'm going to bring my hemming gum and then stuck it to the middle. Okay, you remember after sewing it, this space will be opened, so I'm going to stuck my hemming gum in the middle like this, and then after stocking it, I'm going to sew the other side. Then I'll take it to my ironing table and iron it so that the hemming gum can melt with the crinoline, and it's going to give it a stiffer feel. So I have done this already, and this is what I have. You cannot touch this, but it is really stiff, and it's okay for what I want to do. So this is what I'm going to be using in place of Mako. So to fold this now, what you just need to do is to, on your 25 inches measurement, or 20, I'm using 28. Okay, so you just put it on fold like this, and then you notch the midpoint. It's important. So after notching your midpoint, you're going to open it out, and then you bring in your crinoline or your Mako, you fold as well, and then you note the midpoint. Okay, so I'm marking that midpoint with my chalk. So what you want to do now is to place the midpoint of your crinoline. Hope you can see this. So now I have added more chalk, so I believe you can see it better now. So you're going to place the midpoint of your crinoline against the midpoint of your fabric, and then you leave about half an inch to fold in the rough edges, just like this. Okay, so for this you can actually use your hemming gum again. You can place your hemming gum on this part, then after folding it, you go ahead and iron it. But because of the pleats that I have on this fabric, I don't want to iron it too much so that I don't lose my pleat. So I'm just going to go ahead and sew it down. So after folding it once like this, okay, to conceal all of these rough edges, you're going to fold again, just like this. Then after folding like this, I'm going to go ahead and run a stitch on that part to hold it together. You can also glue it down, but I prefer to stitch it because this fabric is not so strong. You can see how stretchy it is, so I want it to hold it well, very well. So what I'm going to do basically is just to place my crinoline and my fabric center to center, and then I'm going to fold about half an inch or whatever it is you need to just make sure that this part is concealed. Then after that, you're going to flip like this, and then I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and sew. Okay, so on this part where, remember, the crinoline does not go all around, on this part where the crinoline stops, I'm going to cut my elastic. Okay, so you can see how much the elastic, how small the elastic is. That's because I needed to gather it to fit the person's head. So now where this crinoline stops here, I'm going to place the elastic on that point, and then after sewing the crinoline straight, I'm going to use a stitch exactly where this stops. To I'm going to sew on the elastic just to hold it down. Then after that, I'm going to stretch it to the other end as well and sew on it so that it can hold it together. So we'll take this one after the other. I'm going to go ahead and sew this down first, and then I'm going to bring it back for us to see the next thing to do. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew it down. Okay, so sewing this fabric was not easy actually because it's very soft and stretchy. So if you're working with a fabric like this, you can just stabilize it with maybe a gum stay. I decided to use this as a stay because of the pleats. I don't want to lose the pleats, that's why I don't want to iron on it at all. But I have sewn it, and this is what it looks like. You can see I sew very close to the edge so that it's not going to be too obvious. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to place my elastic. So I did not sew up to here so that I can place the elastic easily. So what I'm going to do now is just to open it up on this side, and then I'm going to place my elastic here. So after placing it, I'm going to hold it with my finger or a pin, and then I'm going to run a stitch to hold the elastic like this. So after holding your elastic like this, the next thing you need to do is to drag the elastic to the end. Remember, after you have held it here, it's not going to shift, so you drag it to the end for it to gather all of the fabric. I have done this here. As we can see, I have inserted the elastic to this, so this is what it's going to give me. So even if your client's head is bigger than what you have measured, you can see it still has room to stretch out more. So that is what I'm going to do to this side as well. Okay, so I have sewn it on both sides. Now you can see my elastic, and I want to complete my straight sewing. So this is what it looks like now, and then the elastic is just going to make it adjustable for you. Okay, so you make your elastic as small as possible depending on how short you want it to be, so you can see, so it can stretch to whatever length that you want. So now another thing you should do with your crinoline, if the edge is too sharp, before you sew it down, you can use a bias to cover it up. So you just sew a bias to the edge like this so that it's not going to be too sharp for the head of the person that is going to wear it. So after doing this, now I'm going to put this on fold like this, and then I'm going to sew it down. You can sew it down first, or you just go ahead and run your gather stitch. So I'm arranging it very well. Remember, I have a shortage of fabric here because my fabric is not enough, but it will still work because I'm still going to shape this like this. So you can just measure down around 3 to 4 inches for your shaping, or you just eyeball it. I'm going to eyeball mine. I'm just going to bring in my scissors now and then shape this a bit, just like this. Okay, so you can see what I have now. So I'm going to go ahead now and sew this down, and then I'm going to run a running stitch to gather everything together. So I have sewn it now. The next thing to do is to use my needle and thread to run a gather stitch. Okay, so I'm going to run my stitch from here to this point. So now it's just a running stitch, there is nothing to it. This is just so that you can gather everything together. So I'm just running my stitch just like this. I just wanted to gather everything together for you. After gathering it completely, I'll bring out my needle and then I'm going to drag everything together so you can see. So now what you just want to do is to just find a way to tie everything together, run many stitches and then hold it together just like this. So I just pass the thread, needle and thread round, and then I'm going to tie it here. Okay, so whatever you do, just make sure that you seal it and hold it down well. So after passing my needle and thread, I'm going to cut it off. So you can weave this part before you do this, but my fabric does not frill, so that's why I just went ahead to just gather it. But you should weave the rough edges before you make your gathers. So you cut off your threads now, and then we'll flip it to the right side. So after flipping it to the right side, you can see what it looks like. You can see how neat it is and how beautiful it is looking. So you can decide to leave your Zara cap like this, or if you have something to embellish it with, you can just and tack it like this, or you glue it to it. So I think I'm going to be adding a bow to the back of my Zara cap, and you can see what our elastic is doing there. You can see, so this is adjustable and it will easily fit in any edge size that you want. So I'll just go ahead and add my bow, and then I'll bring it back to show us what it looks like. So I have gone ahead to attach my crinoline bow. It's a crinoline bow, that's why it is this bouncy. And like I said, the tutorial is up on the channel already. I'm going to drop the link down in the comment section. So you can also add a rose, you can use a decorative crinoline, just anything to beautify it. You can add this and still add your trimming all around it if you want. Just make sure that it is beautiful and presentable. I hope you enjoyed making this beautiful tutorial with me. If you enjoyed it, let us know in the comment section. Like, comment and subscribe to our channel, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.